Hey guys, welcome back. In the past few lessons, we've been learning and understanding the core concepts and terminologies in Kafka. We also looked at how Kafka handled failures with producers, consumers, and the brokers. It is now time to try out or experiment what we learned so far in Kafka. Here's what we are going to do. We'll first download, configure, and do the necessary steps to run Kafka in a 3-node cluster setup in this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll use a producer and consumer that comes bundled with Kafka to try out the concepts that we learned. Sounds like a plan? Let's get started. We'll be using the Kafka distribution from Confluent for our installation. Confluent is a vendor who provides enterprise support and additional monitoring tools for Kafka. Actually, Confluent is started by the same group of people who created Kafka at LinkedIn. Later, they came out of LinkedIn and started Confluent. It is very easy to run a Kafka cluster. You can do it in less than 15 minutes. Our plan is to run a 3-node Kafka cluster. I have Kafka configured and running on 3 T2 medium EC2 AWS instances. You can run Kafka on just one node if you prefer to do so. I'll walk you through the installation and configuration of Kafka step by step. Kafka needs Zookeeper to work. Kafka requires Zookeeper to perform various coordination activities between the nodes in the cluster. Zookeeper helps in managing which nodes in the Kafka cluster are alive or dead. It is used when there is a need to elect a leader between the nodes. It helps store metadata information about the topics and replicas, etc. Typically, Kafka production deployments depend on a 3-node or a 5-node Zookeeper cluster or ensemble. And the Zookeeper ensemble will run outside of the Kafka cluster. For our demo, just to keep things simple, we'll run a 3-node Zookeeper cluster or ensemble on the same nodes as the Kafka cluster. For our demo, just to keep things simple, we will run a 3-node Zookeeper ensemble on the same nodes as the Kafka brokers. Let's first download Kafka from Confluent's site. Go to confluent.io/download and hit this button right here, Confluent Open Source. For the format, tar.gz is fine. Type in your email address and hit download. The Confluent version that I have downloaded is 3.3.0. Once downloaded, I have copied the tar file to all 3 nodes in my cluster, where I'm planning to run Kafka. I'm calling the nodes Node 1, Node 2, and Node 3. Now let's download Zookeeper. We will download Zookeeper from Apache's website. We'll use a wget with the URL to download the file on all 3 nodes. The Zookeeper version we'll be using is 3.4.10. And again, I have downloaded Zookeeper on all 3 nodes. Now, we have both Kafka and Zookeeper distribution files on all of our 3 nodes. Let's first configure and start Zookeeper, and then we'll configure and start Kafka. First, we need to untar the Zookeeper tar file. Here is the tar command to untar the file. We are saying tar-xzf followed by the name of the Zookeeper tar file. And once you untar the file, you will see a Zookeeper folder like what I'm showing right here. Now let's go into the conf directory. Here let's open Zookeeper's configuration file, zoo.cfg. Let's just look at the properties which we are most interested in changing. The data directory will initially be pointing to the temp directory. Temp directory is not a safe location to store Zookeeper's data because someone can accidentally delete the folder. So let's change the location from temp to var/Zookeeper. Next, make sure the client port is 2181. Next, we need to list the servers in the Zookeeper ensemble. Here, we have listed 3 servers where we will be running Zookeeper. The server.0, server.1, and server.2 indicate the ID of each server. The servers listed here will form the Zookeeper cluster. Next, we'll be creating a file named myid under the data directory var/Zookeeper on each of the 3 servers. we need to make sure the myID file has the correct ID on each server, meaning the content of the myID file in IP 172.3137234 should be 0. The content of the myID file in IP 172.3142160 will be 1. But before we can create the myID file, we need to create the data directory. First, we are issuing an mkdir to create the data directories /var/zookeeper. Then we are changing the permissions of the directory so that Ubuntu is the owner of the directory, because we'll be running zookeeper from the user Ubuntu. Next, let's open the myID file. Let's close zoo.cfg file. Let's open myID now. And here you go. The myID file just has the ID of the zookeeper for this node, which is 0. Now let's open the myID file on another node. So this is node 2. So this will have myID as 1. There you go. So let's open node 3. This will have myID as 2. And that is it. We are done with the zookeeper setup, and we are ready to start zookeeper on all 3 nodes. And here is the command: bin/zk server.sh start. Make sure to be in the zookeeper's directory when you execute the command. Once you execute the start command, zookeeper will start and run. I have already started zookeeper on all 3 nodes, so I won't issue the start again. Now that we have zookeeper started and running, let's configure and start Kafka. Let's first untar the Kafka file that we downloaded. And here is the command: tar-xzf and the file name. Once untarred, you will see a folder like what you see. We'll be updating 2 configuration files here: server.properties and zookeeper.properties under etc/Kafka directory. So let's first open the server.properties file. So I'm going to go into etc Kafka directory, and let's open server.properties. By default, in the server.properties file, the broker ID would be 0. This ID should be different and unique for each broker. This is the first node in the cluster, so we have the broker ID on this node set to 0. In the next node, we have made the broker ID to be 1. Let's check it out. So let me go into the Confluent directory on node 2, go into etc Kafka directory, open server.properties. And here you go. The broker ID on node 2 is set to 1. The broker ID on node 3 is set to 2. Now let's go back to node 1. Let's scroll down a bit, and we'll see the zookeeper.connect property. Here, we need to list the host names along with the port where we are running zookeeper as comma separated values. So we have listed all 3 servers which are running zookeeper. Now that is it. We are done with server.properties. Very simple, right? So let's close this. Let's now open the next configuration file which we need to update, which is zookeeper.properties file. Here, make sure the data directory is pointing to /var/zookeeper, because that's the directory we specified for zookeeper's data directory when we configured zookeeper. All right, that is it. We are ready to start Kafka. Make sure to update both server and zookeeper properties files on all nodes where you're planning to run Kafka. And I have already done that step, so we are ready to start Kafka here. And here is a command to start Kafka: bin/Kafka server start. And we need to provide the server.properties file as argument. When we start Kafka, the output gets printed on the screen, and we don't want that, so we are redirecting the output to nowhere when we redirect the output to /dev/null. We are starting using the no-hub command, so Kafka can run in the background even after we exit the session. After issuing the start, make sure there are no errors in the logs. The logs for Kafka are located under Confluent folder /logs. So let me show you that. So we are in the Confluent directory now, and you can switch to logs. And here you can find all the Kafka related logs. I've already started Kafka on all 3 nodes. And as you can see, the configuration is very simple. There are only few files to configure, and Kafka and Zookeeper should start fine with no issues. That is it. We are done. See, I told you we can install and configure a Kafka cluster in less than 15 minutes. So we have a 3-node Kafka cluster along with Zookeeper running. In the next lesson, we'll run some experiments in our brand new Kafka cluster. See you in the next lesson.